you want to write a lot, it's awesome. Click save and finish it later. And I think that's basically it. Right? Thank you very much for cooperation. And also, if you don't have the computers here, you want to do it at home, we ask you to fill it up at home. You just need to go to the same website and it's going to work there, but it needs to be done by this Friday, I guess. Right? Thank you, guys.
Saturday. For Jericho, it's our last show. We got improv, we got sketches, we got videos. I'll go ahead and write the rules down in time. I'm curious though, real big. I will come. You tell me what to do. This is Friday. How do I got this course evaluation? Okay, so Saturday. I think it's the room. Anyone know where Wolford is? It's on the west side. Go to Wolford. Good is good. Thank you.
There were lots of submissions, though.
Yeah. All right, guys. So.
Was there a separate evaluation form for people to evaluate Andrew? Thanks very much. Okay. So you know I care about public policy. Here's what I have to say about it. I'm going to reiterate everything I said all semester long. Sorry, microphone. Good point. All right. Microphone. All right. So Caroline, basically, somebody, you said, no, it wasn't you, maybe it was Timothy, who said, if we use the wrong model, we'll mispredict the results of government policy. Where's that effect? If you don't have the right model, you're going to make the wrong predictions. You know, it's easy to be blasé, oh, I made the wrong prediction. The fact of the matter is, as I said, economists tend to speak with a disproportionately loud voice in public policy debates. If you come with your policy that says, you know, 401k, subsidizing 401ks can only make people worse off because we should assume that they're making perfectly rational retirement savings decisions, you are probably going to be wrong. And you're probably going to influence public policy in ways that are not that helpful, and maybe even bad. So here's a few examples. I say the timing of tax rebates. So were any of you paying income tax in 2008? All of. Okay. 2000, I think it was, no, it must have been, was it? No, I'm sorry. It goes much further back than this. Okay, so George W. Bush gets elected in 2000. Some people say he got elected. It doesn't really matter whether he got elected or came into office through some other mechanism, but he wound up president. And one of the first things happened was that the economy went into a recession because of the bursting of the dot-com bubble. If you know anything about a fellow named Keynes, you know that one of the first things we tend to like to do when the economy goes into recession is to prime the pump by giving people money to spend. And so George W. Bush, I think, quite wisely, gave people a tax rebate. Now, there's a couple ways to give people a tax rebate. One is to say you don't owe as much taxes, and we're going to take this off your return, right? When you file your return, we're going to say you don't owe as much, and you'll wind up with either a little bit less tax payment, or maybe we'll even give you some money if your taxes were less than the rebate. And where does that put the money? It puts the money into the future. Okay? It also, by the way, puts the money into your bank account, which is not really where. So what did George W. Bush do? He sent everybody this big check, like a big physical. I think it may even have been colored, right? It should have been yellow. But I remember I got this. I'm like, whoa! George W. Bush gives, and what do? It's now. You go spend it, right? So if you don't think about that kind of thing, then you're going to say it doesn't matter when we give it to people. Just make it a rebate, and it'll show. And you see all kinds of, like we talked about, designing premium rebates or penalties for people who either do or don't engage in healthy behavior. Again, the timing matters. I'll give you my favorite example of this. There's some, maybe I've said this, I think I've said this to some people in office hours. There's a couple of studies on paying students to show up and do well in high school. And the idea is that the benefits of doing well in high school are way in the future, and so if students are present biased, they'll discount all of that and they won't do well. So what will we do? We'll give them an immediate reward. Okay? So I want you to get good grades each semester, and the only way I'm going to know whether or not you get good grades is to wait until the end of the semester, and if you get good grades, I'm going to give you an immediate reward. Let's say the day that your grades are computed and announced. Now, when do I need to change my behavior in order to get a good grade? Starting about 4 months before that. Right? So what's now? Right? Is the end of the semester now? It is now. But was it now? No, right? So here's what they find. They find that paying high school students to do well during the course of a semester in a specific class works well for women, but not for girls, but not for boys. And so what do you conclude from that? Well, if all you did was to write down a beta delta model, utility of whatever it is you're talking about is equal to u naught plus beta times a bunch of other stuff, right? Then you say, well, now I need to define time periods. Okay, well, I need the reward. The reward is immediate, so I know the time period must be at least 4 months long. Okay, so let me say, t equals 1, 2, 3 quarters. These are quarters of the, right? And this is no more intelligent than anything else that the people who we're criticizing have done all this time. You've made this convenient assumption that 4 months from now is now. And what I see in these results is, and so then you say, oh, well, girls seem to be present biased, and this affects them, and boys aren't present biased or something. It's like, no, not at all. 4 months is the future. It's the girls who aren't present biased. They're willing to work hard each weekend, right? Because you're fighting against temptation. Should I go out with my buddies and get whatever I get on the weekend, or should I resist that temptation and work hard? Well, if the payoff is in 4 months, it's really important to know whether people treat that as immediate or delayed. And you need to know whether the thing that you're up against is some really now immediate temptation. I want to get baited and watch TV. Or whether it's a more long-term kind of present bias, which says, well, I don't really think about the future. This semester, I don't think I want to work that hard overall. Very different. Really important to know what you're modeling and how to model it. Okay. I know nothing about any of this, of course. Yeah, so we can talk about the impact of incentives that are losses versus gains. Somebody said earlier that was an important thing. Yeah, this matters a lot in public policy. You also need to think hard about, well, if I think of this as taking money away from you, I need to know whether you think of it as me taking money away from you, or as me simply withholding money that I said I was going to give to you, right? So if I say I'm going to give you a chunk of money, and then I'm going to take some away from you every time you don't go to the gym, it's really important to know whether that chunk of money that I give you becomes incorporated into your reference point, so that when I take some of that money away from you each time you don't go to the gym, you experience that as a loss. Because if in fact psychologically what happens is that you take that money and say you do what Dick Later calls mental accounting, and you set it aside and you say that's not really part of my reference point because it might go away, then you're not going to experience it as a loss. You're going to experience it as a foregone gain. And you need to know what the right model is if you want to make the right predictions about whether or not that's the right way to do the policy. Okay, so that's the positive component. Then there's the normative component, deciding what is a good idea and what is a bad idea, or from among a set of bad ideas, which is the least bad, etc. And again, if we use the wrong model, we will think things are good for society that really aren't, and vice versa. So if I come with a discounted utility model, a Samuelson exponential discounting model, and I say, is it a good idea to intervene in savings markets by subsidizing investments, by giving people a 6% match on their contributions? Well, under the assumptions of the beta model, the delta model, you know that the answer is no, because people are going to maximize their utility by doing what's, their decisions will be utility maximizing, which is a normative stance, right? By saying I believe that people's preferences are rational and I'm going to model it that way, the prediction, the normative conclusions of your model will implicitly embody a particular normative stance. And if that normative stance is wrong, you're going to make bad recommendations for public policy. Because essentially what you'll be saying is, if you make the assumption of rationality, if you use the wrong model, basically what you'll be saying is, if we subsidize people's retirement savings, they will be saving too much. Okay? We are basically distorting the choice between consumption now and consumption in retirement, and we are incentivizing people to spend too much money in retirement and not enough money now, and we're therefore creating deadweight loss. That's the normative implication of the exponential utility model in the market for retirement savings, and it's wrong. And it's wrong in a really massive and kind of devastating way. So again, if you have the wrong model, you're going to draw the wrong normative conclusions. Yeah, so I just said that. And then it just comes to the question of, are there markets that we should just regulate and not let firms do sort of crummy things? So I was talking to a student in my office hours earlier about teaser rates, right? So how many of you have a credit card? Okay. How many of you, the credit card you have had a 0% interest rate when you first got it for the first 6 months or a year? Okay, and then it went up to like 99% a minute, right? So that's a teaser rate. And there's a reason it's called a teaser rate. A tease, right, is when you try to motivate someone to do something with something that's not real. I'm going to offer you this, but then I'm going to take it away. So I'm going to offer you the hope that you can just get free short-term credit. And basically what I'm doing is I'm taking advantage of naives who are going to say, oh, yeah, I'm present biased now. I really want this thing that I can't afford. So I'm going to put it on this credit card with this teaser rate. 3 months from now, when I'm not present biased, magically, I'll pay back. And then you discover that you're present biased 3 months from now, and 4 months from now, and 5 months from now, and a year from now, you're paying 15% interest on your present biased yayas. So as a normative matter, under the assumption that people are perfectly rational, I should just stay the heck out of that market. Because the normative implications of a rational model in that market is that anything I do to intervene, basically what's going on is that there's a market in which people are expressing their demand for one product versus another. And if the people who are consumers, if you want, technically investors who want a credit card, not investors, borrowers. Consumers? Let's just call them borrowers. I never know who's a consumer in this market. If individuals who are borrowers say that the product they want is something with 0% interest rate and then it's jacked up at the point, then that's what firms rationally, and if that's the rationally profit maximizing thing for firms to supply, then we've made society better off by definition. But it's only by definition if you've made the assumption of rationality, right? So here is a set of areas where we think we might want to intervene to change people's behavior for their best interest. Here's a set of situations where we think we might want to intervene to prevent firms from taking advantage of the ways in which people's preferences violate standard assumptions of rationality. Okay. And then finally, there's the question of policy design. And this is what we talked about with the Save More Tomorrow retirement savings plan, which is on its way to becoming public policy as opposed to just something that Dick Taylor convinces firms to do on their own. Right, so if we use the right model, we can design more effective government policies. If we have a model or we have a set of assumptions and understanding that is correct about things like loss aversion, about things like present bias, about things like default bias, then we can use those to gain insight into what is or isn't good public policy. If you're interested in this issue of policy design, I would recommend that you take a peek at what's being done. This board needs to be replaced. Andrew, has everybody written this down? Wait, no, okay, I can use this one. If anyone's earned the right to not be erased, it's Andrew. So in England, there is a government agency that is referred to as the Behavioural Insights Team, also known as, colloquially, the Nudge Unit. I think that you can Google either of those terms and you'll find the same link. These guys publish write and disseminate in some sense white papers or policy reports saying here's what behavioral economics and social science generally, behavioral science, has to say about this policy area, that policy area, etc. And recently they came out with a thing that it was called EAST, E-A-S-T, and it's an acronym, and I can't remember what the A, S, and T stand for, but the E stands for easy, which is what I want to talk about. And basically it's a policy design manual. It says, here's a bunch of stuff that behavioral economists and people who study decisions, not decision science, what is the thing that behavioral social scientists generally, some of whom are cognitive scientists, some of whom are psychologists, here's a bunch of design lessons that we think we've learned that are generalizable. So things like, what do you do about present bias? Well, what you do about present bias is you figure out ways to restructure decision-making, the sort of choice architecture of a decision, so that people can make binding decisions on their future self at a time when they're not experiencing temptation. Okay? And one of the things that they have is this idea that you should make things easy. Now, opting into a 401k plan is, in fact, easy, right? In some pretty rigorously defensible way. It takes maybe 15 minutes. If that's not easy, you guys just did something hard, right? You got through a semester at Cal. Signing up for a 401k plan is not hard by comparison to that. In fact, if you floss every day, that's harder than signing up for a 401k. But as an empirical matter of observable human behavior, it's actually pretty obvious that it's not easy enough, right? Because we know that if people are subject to procrastination because of naive present bias preferences or because of inattentiveness or something else like that, what we can in fact observe is that even when something is quite easy, people will still not do it. And if your attitude, in some sense, if your normative stance is, well, they should, this is only helpful as a way to excuse inaction. It's not actually helpful as a way to make the world a better place. If you want to try to influence people's behavior in a way that you think is good for them and good for society, you need to take people where they're at. You need to start with people as they actually are. And real human beings, us and others, will procrastinate something even when the transaction costs, even when it's actually really quite easy. So what these guys say is, make it really easy. You know, just push easy as far as you can. You know, and I think that that's if you didn't start with a clear understanding of how people actually make decisions, you might not get there. Because you might stop at, oh my God, are you kidding? This has got to be easy enough. And then it becomes an empirical matter. As a matter of human behavior and behavioral science and decision, study of decision making, is it in fact easy enough? Okay, fine. I've said what I have to say about that. And I think, yeah, so say more tomorrow, classic example, commitment, contract, incentive programs, yada, yada. Okay. Oh, I like this. So if any of you have ever been to IPUM, does anyone know about IPUMs? Anyone done some data analysis? You go to, I don't know what it stands for. It's where you go. It's the University of Minnesota. They have a website. You go and get your census data there. And it's free, and they have this slogan that you can have this for free, use it for good, never for evil. So this is my slogan for behavioral economics. Okay? And here's what I have to say about it. As a matter of fact, if you're smart, you can exploit behavioral economics to make yourself rich. And indeed, that's how a lot of people have made themselves rich. Right? The credit card companies don't use teaser rates because it seems like, why not? Let's give it a shot. It might work. They do it because they get your irrationalities. Right? They think it's a good idea for precisely the rigorously observed reasons that we think it's a bad idea. So, if you're smart, you can take what I taught you this semester and you can exploit it to make yourself rich. If you're really smart, you can do that without exploiting other people in the process, right? So there's a difference between exploiting behavioral economics, which just means using it, and exploiting other people, okay? So you only have to be smart if you want to exploit behavioral economics whilst exploiting other people. I claim you have to be really smart in order to make yourself rich, exploiting behavioral economics without exploiting other people. So my guidance to you is think a little harder, try to make the world a better place. If you're really, really smart, you can actually benefit other people in the process, right? So the great human achievements, well, not the great. What do I want to say? It is a great achievement when, through the pursuit of your own profit maximization, you can come up with something that actually makes other people manifestly better off. That's great. Now, if you invent the next lightest, cheapest, coolest plasma TV, you can claim that you've done that, and that's fine by me. What I'm thinking of is, can you come up with a way to harness the lessons of behavioral economics in a way that could be advantageous to you, right, and that is also advantageous to other people? All right. Additional fact. I claim this is a fact. It's easier to help others when you're not simultaneously trying to get rich, right? So the range of activities that are good for other people is much larger than the subset of those activities that will also make you rich. So if you're absolutely determined to get rich, it's going to actually be a little bit harder to do good things for other people. Not impossible. If you're willing to let go of that motivation, I think you'll find it's easier to do things that are good for others. Doesn't mean you have to be poor. There is a gray area between rich and poor that is larger than some of you may realize. Okay. So that's what I have to say about that. We've done that. So now I'm going to shift gears, and this is what I want to end with. I'm done talking about behavioral economics, by the way. Actually, so I'm going to give you some unsolicited advice for personal happiness and success. But before I do that, I want to, well, as part of this. When I teach benefit cost analysis to my graduate students, I say part of what you get if you take this class is you get a lifetime of free technical support. And in this case, in the case of an undergraduate class, I extend that to sort of life support. You're now welcome to email me anytime about anything you want from now until the earlier of when I die and when you die. You're welcome to email me after I die. I may be delayed in getting back to you. So there's that. I want to make myself available to folks, and I get emails from people all the time. Hey, it's taken me 2 years to think about this thing that you said, and now I want to talk about it. Advice for personal happiness. Okay, so be a sophisticate. Behavioral biases can cause you a lot of harm. So Andrew can tell you all about that, and so can others. Failing to invest in your future because of present bias and procrastination. And by failing to invest in your future, I don't just mean retirement savings. I mean all kinds of things. This is a big one. We haven't talked about this so much. Pursuing goals that wind up not making you happy because of projection bias, and failing to pursue those that would. So I had a student a few years ago, not in this class. I was teaching 100A at the time. I had this student who wanted to talk to me, and he was really urgent, and he was really vexed. He really was unclear about whether he should be applying for an MBA or a PhD in economics, which is a tough question, right? It's tough. So I always start with, well, what are your goals? And he hemmed and he hawed, and he had various sort of general kind of vague things to say, and I don't have a high tolerance for vagueness, so I pushed him. What he said was this: my goal is to have a BMW by the time I'm 30. I don't know how old. I can't remember. I don't think he's 30 yet. I don't know if he has a BMW yet, and I don't know whether he got an MBA or a PhD in economics. And part of what I said to him was, you should get an MBA, but because you won't be done paying off your student loans by the time you're 30. But of course, there's a much larger question that is raised here, which is, what are you basing your prediction on that having a BMW by the end of your third decade is actually going to be worth the effort that you put into it? Okay. My dad, as you probably will remember having heard me say, was recently diagnosed with